didn't tell Suge and them they wasn't going to Vegas. Snoop is telling his crew, we not going to Vegas. Why?
And what I heard was, got him.
Tupac just fired Reggie Wright Jr. Tupac fired David Kenner. Less than 14 days, he got killed.
I'm offering Reggie right now $100K to take a polygraph.
I see these motherfuckers involved with assassination.
I knew Nas had a concert. And I'm driving to the concert and the radio's playing. I think Andrew's on. And she made the announcement that Pac had passed away. And I immediately just felt horrible. I had the all access pass and Nas was on stage. He got the red leather farmer's joint on. And I was like, yo, man, Pac just died, man. And he was like, word? I was like, word. I was like, you gotta go tell everybody that Pac died. And he was like, man, nah, man. He gave me the mic. He said, you go out there and do it. And I went out there and got a moment of silence for the brother, man.
Yo, what's up, y'all? Can I get a light, please? What's up, y'all? This is Ed Lover from Hot 97. How y'all doing, all right? Yo, chill out. Yo, hold on. Now, this brother was good enough to stop his show in the middle of this show, and I want everybody in here, everybody stand up on their feet first and foremost, please. No, don't make no noise. Every brother in here, please take your hat off. At 7:03 p.m. New York time, 4:03 p.m. Las Vegas time, Tupac Shakur passed away, y'all. Give me a moment of silence, okay? So we can recognize a brother that was part of the hip-hop culture that passed away. I don't give a what Tupac ever said on the record. No matter what, he didn't deserve to die that way. When the are we gonna stop this bull and start loving one another? Don't believe the hype. It wasn't no East Coast, West Coast bullshit. It was some internal LA that took this brother out. Can we have a moment of silence for the memory of one of the greatest rappers that will ever live, Tupac Shakur?
After 30 years, the Tupac murder case is still unsolved. There are far too many suspicious details and loose ends in this case to fully dismiss the possibility that it was a planned setup.
Somebody wanted control of some money. Some people were spending money that they shouldn't have been spending. Some people were stealing money that they shouldn't have been stealing. Some people had money they shouldn't have had. And I think if I heard correctly, Tupac put an audit in 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to his murder and start firing people and trying to figure out where his money was at and where it was going. So now, if you've been stealing money and you inside and everything could be connected to you, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna get him into something to cause him to react in that manner.
The guy named Reggie Wright Jr., who was over security. He didn't work directly for Death Row, but he had a security company called Right Way Security, who did security for Death Row with off-duty police officers or guys with a CCW. Reggie Wright Jr. told the security they can't carry firearms.
Now, Reggie is the same person that was able to call his father within minutes and tell his father that Southside shot Tupac and Suge, but wasn't at the scene. He's always with Suge. Ironically, he's not there, right? They had a security. Not only is he not there, that weekend, he told all the security they couldn't carry their guns.
Pac hated Reggie Wright Jr., so he had fired him before any of that. I don't know the right date, but I'm quite sure it was. It's paperwork that shows it. I hired a guy named Michael Moore and told him to bring another off-duty police officers because they kept their gun and they was real aggressive by protecting Tupac. So on the way to the fight, Reggie Wright Jr. tell Michael Moore he can't carry his weapon when he doing bodyguard work for Tupac. Michael Moore said, well, I'm going back to the hotel. If I can't carry my gun, I can't protect myself or Tupac, so I'm not going. So Reggie Wright Jr. goes and says, Frank, you can go, but you can't bring your gun. Now, everyone knows you can't be a bodyguard without a gun.
I was a little upset that I was taken off of him, and I got into a little argument with Reggie Wright at lunch over it. He said, Mike, I'm putting Frank back on him, and I'm taking you back off. And I said, Reggie, that part doesn't make sense. Why not leave me and Frank on Tupac? And he said, Michael Moore, do what you're told. I'm gonna put you at Club 662, and you're gonna handle the security along with Al Giddens at the club.
They got word that Tupac and Suge had been shot. So Michael was with Reggie, and they went to the hospital together. And Michael talks about hearing something over the radio. Well, he would have heard it over Reggie's radio because he wouldn't have had a radio that night.
While I was working at 662, I heard something over the Nextels that we all carried for security. And what I heard was, got him. The voice was definitely one of our security that works directly for Mr. Knight. Right before me and Mr. Wright got in the vehicle to go get to the hospital, someone else came on the radio and said, hey, don't say nothing over the radio. Mr. Wright and I were talking about what had happened, and I just clearly heard somebody say, don't say that over the radio. But the person who said it was not Homeboy Security, nor was it one of our security guards. It was, to me, would be like a stranger. Someone, and the person that said that was Caucasian, definitely not African American. Maybe the police should have concentrated more on death row, the Nextel phone bills, and other things that could have helped them investigate it more in depth. I would definitely look more at death row than I would look at Mr. Anderson, and that's from what I've gathered when I was at New York, what I heard Pac tell Suge Knight, and what I heard over that radio that night after the shots were fired. We were also instructed to lie by Reggie Wright to Suge. Suge called a meeting, and all the artists were instructed to come to this meeting, and certain security was invited, and I happened to be one of them. But prior to going into the meeting with Suge and all the artists from Death Row, Reggie met with us out front in his own meeting and instructed us to say certain things. And when I got into the meeting, it was a meeting the meeting was basically about what happened. And the artists were drilling security about what methods we had used and what was some of our tactics. I looked around and no one said it. No one was speaking up for security. So I was one of the few people that spoke up and said, wait a minute. We were instructed not to carry weapons. And none of the artists knew that. They didn't know we were instructed not to carry weapons that day. And it looked like Reggie wasn't gonna say that information to them. So I spoke up and said, no, we were instructed not to carry weapons that day. And that's why no one in security, with probably up the exception of me, had a weapon. I was never interviewed by any of the police agencies, the FBI, nor Las Vegas PD. And I found that to be a little strange because for the last week, I was with Tupac and I didn't get a single question from anyone about what I thought, what my theory was on what happened, nor about the Nextel phones where I had heard the conversation that said, got him.
Orlando Anderson has the fight in the MGM Grand, right? Reggie is the one that's out here telling the story about they had a fight at the Lakewood Mall over a bounty for the Death Row chain. You ask anybody, Suge, anybody out there, were there a bounty on Death Row chains? No, there wasn't. That was the alibi for the setup for Tupac's murder, right? Allegedly.
Frank Alexander, in tears, told me that these people was all involved. And that's why he did not perform the way he was supposed to perform. And if you really look at the other situation, he got interviewed by the grand jury, Frank Alexander. And he lied to him at first. He said everything started over a chain, which is a lie. He says when we walk into the MGM, Orlando Anderson tried to snatch Tupac chain. So the second day he go to get interviewed, he said, I got to clear up something. I lied the other day. He said, why'd you lie? He said, Reggie Wright Jr. told me to say that they tried to snatch Tupac's chain, which was a lie. After that fight, after we stopped to a few places, we go to my house. I told Frank, I told all the security, I told everyone. Pac just beat up a well-known gang member. Send 4 or 5 guys extra to the house to escort Tupac to the club. Reggie Wright Jr. refused to send the security guys, refused to show up. That wasn't a coincidence. It was a murder for hire hit.
What a lot of people don't know is right before the shooting, they get pulled over by some bicycle cops. The bicycle cops search Suge's car, make sure they ain't got no guns. As soon as the bicycle cop let them go, they drive up, right? Now, according to Suge says K-Dub cuts him off, right? And then Suge also says it this way, Reggie's man, K-Dub cuts him off. Reggie's boy, according to Suge, K-Dub's not at the light, he's blocking the crosswalk.
The next light is Colville. Little did we know that anything was about to happen. We pull up to the light. I am the second car. Actually, I'm the third car. K-Dub was in front of Suge, which never, ever, ever happened with anyone being in front of Suge. One of his homeboys, Trevon, was to the left of Suge, which would have been to his side of the car. So you got Trevon to the left, you have K-Dub in the front, and you have me in the back. Then all of a sudden, I noticed this white Cadillac. Cadillac pulls up.
And he's not like stopped at the light in the crosswalk. He kind of like cuts him off in the crosswalk, allegedly.
We was blocked in. Only person know the truth, the real truth, is me and Tupac. He's not there to tell it. Only person knows is myself. But Reggie Wright Jr. tried to change the whole story of the narrative, what actually happened, and he was not there.
A white Cadillac comes up, the shooting happens, the Cadillac takes off, whatever. Some say allegedly Bunchy jumped out and bust some shots at the Cadillac and then jumped in his car and chased it.
If anybody had a lot of involvement of the Tupac situation, I know Perk Bud had his hands in it. I know the fact that this person involvement of the assassination of Tupac Shakur.
Kevin Hackey, another former Tupac bodyguard, is challenging Reggie Wright Jr.'s truthfulness.
I'm offering Reggie right now $100K to take a polygraph. That he had no involvement whatsoever to do with Tupac's killing.
Hackey, according to these court filings, worked for 2 years as an undercover agent for the FBI and ATF, helping the feds.
To investigate Marion Knight and death row records for racketeering violations.
A former Compton School District police officer who worked off-duty hours as a Tupac bodyguard now reveals an interesting series of events. He says, here at the House of Blues in 1996, an off-duty Santa Monica cop working security confiscated a .40 caliber Glock handgun similar to this from a member of Tupac Shakur's entourage.
About 2 weeks after that, I was contacted by Reggie to go over to Santa Monica Police Department to pick up this firearm.
Hackey says he first showed the handgun to his FBI handlers and then turned it over to Reggie Wright Jr. A month later in Las Vegas, investigators say it was a .40 Glock handgun that killed Tupac Shakur. Hackey believes the murder weapon was the same gun he gave Reggie Wright Jr.
I believe it is.
And here's why. Hackey says he asked Wright about the .40 Glock.
He stated once I gave him that firearm, he gave it back to his daddy, who at the time was a lieutenant with Compton Police over the gang division. He said his daddy booked that firearm in the property, which, was really and truly far-fetched.
And Hackey says 6 months after Tupac's murder, he had another conversation with Reggie Jr. about the missing handgun. It didn't go well.
Reggie told me, hey, it ain't giving time. I have the money, I have the people, I can have you killed, it ain't giving time.
Hackey says he told his FBI handlers and also told LAPD detectives a decade ago that Wright had threatened I can have you killed at any given time. Reggie Wright Jr. declined an on-camera interview, but in a written statement told us, I had nothing to do with Pac's death. He calls Hackey and former bodyguard Frank Alexander liars.
That whole thing, if you go watch the surveillance video of that whole thing is a play.
Okay.
You can see the man who we allege is Kevin Gaines stand there watching the fight, then comes back later and walks Orlando out of there. Orlando don't walk out of there with no police. A detective or some guy come and walk Orlando. It takes him from the Vegas police and walk him out of there, right? Orlando wasn't the shooter because his fucking arm got kicked out the shoulder. His shoulder got kicked out of place. He's at the hospital, right? If you go look at the hospital records, you could tell when he was released that he couldn't have been at the damn scene of the crime. Tupac just fired Reggie Wright Jr. less than 14 days before he got killed. Tupac fired David Kenner less than 14 days he got killed. Him and Kenner was working together. David Kenner and Reggie was close. When Suge went to jail, David Kenner and Reggie was running Death Row Records.
Snoop, who everyone knew at the time, wanted Tupac dead.
Snoop say that he ain't got no beef with Biggie and Puff. After Snoop did that and made an allegiance with Puff and Big, he drew the line in the sand. You think Pac was going to be in the studio or anything with Snoop after that? No, the beef was lit.
Warren G says when the fight was going on, he was watching at his house. Snoop came over to watch the fight. Snoop had a walkie-talkie. These walkie-talkies, he only got this walkie-talkie that I bought for security and the principal that security doing security with. And they worked on all the West Coast.
For some weird reason, Warren G tells the story how Snoop had a walkie-talkie and he could hear what was going on in Vegas the night Pac and them got shot. He told that story on Drink Champs.
Then he had the next tail back then. Remember the mother?
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of next tail he had, but he had the mother could go that whatever it was hitting him all the way from what was going on from Vegas. So they was like, we could hear the shit, and then he started getting calls and shit, and they was telling him that Tupac got shot.
This is their words, not mine. We're not going to Vegas because basically something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna get killed, right? So Corrupt tells the story, Dash tells the story, Warren G tells the story. Turns around, Nate Dogg says, I'm gonna go to Vegas. Then because I'm going to Vegas, I don't gotta be around basically me and Pac. He said, as long as I ain't around them, I don't have to worry about getting shot or getting a stray bullet. That lets you know, premeditated plan.
They didn't tell Suge and them they wasn't going to Vegas. Snoop is telling his crew, we not going to Vegas. Why?
They start hearing the gunshots. When we getting shot, Snoop listening to it in real time. Pow, 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 all over the radio. That's when he tell them, hey, I gotta go. They just killed Tupac and shot Suge. How would you know? Nobody sat there on the radio, you just heard the shots. Now, Reggie Wright Jr. and Michael Moore in the car. They get on the radio, and they say, hey, got him. Another guy hits on the radio. They said they think he's a white guy or lawyer. And they said, hey, don't talk on the walkie-talkies on the radio. Don't talk on the air. So to move things forward, somebody played that for me with Michael Moore said. So when I know that attorney David Kenner always says, you can be on your cell phone and people be talking like, hey, don't talk on your cell phone. Somebody listening. They recorded and you can't do that. They're listening to you. So I know that's the saying. So jokingly, I told David, I said, hey, was that you on the walkie-talkie? Because that's your line. Don't talk on the phone. Now you the one saying don't talk on the walkie-talkie. David Kenner goes and says, sure. I never had a walkie-talkie. I would never have a walkie-talkie. Would I need one for it? Never. So I'm saying, wow, he's so bent out of shape, but I was joking about it, right? I see these motherfuckers involved with the assassination. So I tell Kenner about it. He went and told the judges. He started trying to pull off my case. He tried to sabotage my case. So after that, our relationship after 30-some years went cold.
The night Tupac Shakur was shot is one of the most mysterious events in hip-hop history. There's so many stories about this, and so many angles to each of these stories, and this was just one of them. Every unanswered question keeps the mystery alive, and new information keeps coming out. Tell us what you think is the truth about what really happened in the comments.